Hello everybody, welcome back to Geeks and Freaks and day 2 of our Halloween countdown. Condemned Criminal Origins is a first-person horror game released on Xbox 360 in 2005 with a PC port coming a year later in 2006. Condemned follows Detective Ethan Thomas in his day-to-day role as a forensic investigator as he struggles with potentially the worst kind of monster on this list, man. From the get-go, Condemned sacrifices the ghosts, ghouls and nightmare creatures that populate similar titles like Fear or Amnesia in favour of a more grittily realistic narrative. Whereas the sequel, Condemned Bloodshot, added supernatural overtones, these somewhat undermine the horror aspects that made the first title so memorable, with Condemned Criminal Origins being a bare-bones romp through the most backwards parts of society. To say the game is dark and gritty would be more fitting than just a turn of phrase. The game's architecture focuses on tight corridors, dark shadowy areas that leave little to your eyes but lots to your imagination, with a good portion of the game being lit almost exclusively by the small flashlight carried by Ethan. The fact that 90% of your surroundings are caked in darkness does wonders for the tension of the game, which coincidentally is one of Condemned's strongest points. The game rarely relies on jump scares and instead focuses on build-up of frights, with enemy shadows scuttling across your field of view, only for you to look and find there's nothing there, to the occasional piece of garbage rolling into your point of view, all evidence that somebody was, or indeed is, in the same room as you. The sound design of the game is also anything but calming, with music being almost completely absent. Every single pin that dropped echoes through the area and causes the hairs on the back of your neck to stand up. Long periods of silence are broken with the distant sound of something knocking or something falling over, and this rarely lets up. There'll be occasions where you have to stop in your path just to make sure that the footsteps you can hear are your own and not those of a vagrant closing in for the attack, so even if you think you've cleared an area of the enemies, you never truly feel alone. When the game was initially released, a lot of the marketing focused on the game's choice to centre around melee combat, with guns being rare and even then extremely limited in use. Condemned doesn't limit itself to the conventional melee weapons of baseball bat, sword and axe, although they do feature at points, but instead, in line with the realistic overtone, focuses on the use of everyday items as weapons. See a bit of pipe on the wall, or an old bit of 2x4, you can probably rip it out and use it to smash in some vagrant's skull, and the game does a great job of hiding these in the environment. No highlighting, no big markers, nothing to break the otherwise downright dirty style that the game goes for. The combat itself does little to ease your nerves. At its core it seems pretty simple, block when the enemy is attacking and counter when he's not expecting it, but the clunky controls, whether intentional or not, make you feel like you have little control over your actions, which makes even the most conventional of fights seem heart racing. On top of this, it's not just you that can grab weapons from anywhere, with enemies often picking up their own weapons from the environment, meaning that each enemy can potentially have a different attack style, with the big weapons taking longer to swing but doing more damage, and the smaller ones doing less damage but swinging a lot faster. Mastering how to counter these enemy types is key if you want to make it through each mission with your brain still inside your skull. Another unique selling point of the game is the detective work. As we mentioned at the top of the video, Ethan Thomas is a forensic investigator, so certain points of the game require to get your tools out to figure out exactly what happened, like a more down-to-earth Batman. These scenes are little more than press X and point kind of situation. Ethan will select the correct tool from the job stand's input, and it's your job to use it in whatever way the game intended. These detective portions of the game were improved upon in the sequel, but here they put just enough control in the player's hands to provide a nice break to the otherwise formulaic gameplay. Narratively, the game subscribes to the less is more philosophy. There's a killer on the loose and Ethan is framed for the murder of his partners, but that's about all we know. Why have the city's migrants suddenly gone insane? Why is there dead birds all over the place? And why does Ethan's face look like an action man got put in a waffle iron? These are, I expect intentionally, never really fleshed out, which leaves us as a player feeling even more isolated. After 11 years, games of this nature have unarguably been done better, with the likes of games like PT really fleshing out the first-person horror genre, but with the Silent Hill series providing the silent treatment for the time being, definitely give Condemned a go if you're looking for a genuinely frightening game to play this Halloween.